Back Home Again in Indiana by Jim Nabors for the very first time in 1972.
Back home again in Indiana.
I think he thought he was going to do the national anthem or one of the other songs, and then when he realized it was Back Home Again in Indiana, he said, well, I don't know the words. And so supposedly somebody gave him the words, and he wrote it on his hand and then got up and just did it with no rehearsal.
Race historian Donald Davidson.
When he did it the first time, just a complete surprise, and a lot of people laughed and said, well, you know, hey, that's Gomer. What's he doing here? Ha, 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 ha.
But Nabors was more than the guy who sang the race anthem 36 times in over 40 years.
Gomer Pyle, USMC.
And he was more than just Gomer Pyle. But were it not for Andy Griffith spotting his act in a nightclub, the Alabamian might never have had an acting career, singing career, and an amazing run in Indy.
I know I was at a place called The Horn, and Andy saw me work there one night.
From an episode of Donahue.
I sang. My act consisted of singing like this and talking like this, and that was the extent of my act. And he was very nice and said if a part ever came up on his show that he would call me, and he did.
Yes. Maggie Peterson-Mancuso appeared with Nabors on Andy Griffith and Gomer Pyle USMC. She and Gomer Pyle co-star Ronnie Shell talked about Nabors in May on WIBC while they were in Indiana for Mayberry in the Midwest.
I played his girlfriend a couple of times.
Okay, didn't realize
in real life, we used to go to the openings of movies and things like that. So we not really dated, but we were sort of a look-alike date.
The Griffith Show was special for everybody who acted and worked on it.
The actors loved to be on that show. It was a special set.
And after Gomer Pyle USMC was over, Nabors kept making records. 28 albums, 5 were gold or platinum. Then he got the call in 1972 to be part of the 500, and Donald Davidson says it became a tradition.
The 500 is all about tradition, and it's very interesting to me how that became such an important part of it.
All the way to 2014 and the very last performance.
This gentleman has become a cherished icon on race day.
Now Jim, who had lived in Hawaii since 1976, has made his way back home again. Finding a suitable replacement has been a tough task, and a replacement may never be found. Indeed, it may be that anyone who sings it from now on will only succeed Jim Nabors.
But tomorrow's never there.
Chris Davis, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
There's a hole in Daddy's arm.
A serving of life.
And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County?
With a side of humor.
The way that the world goes round, yep, one day.
Through the eyes of a singing mailman. At least that's what Roger Ebert called Prine when he reviewed his first gig in Chicago. But Prine's mail-carrying career was soon over when he was signed to Atlantic Records in 1971 and began a career that would take him from his Midwestern home to Nashville, where he owned and operated Oh Boy Records. The second half of Prine's career was as an elder statesman of Americana. A journey that ended after several encounters with cancer.
Well, I used to smoke like crazy. I smoked for 35 years.
A change in voice and style, and the respect of songwriters from Bob Dylan to George Strait.
And then I'm going to get a cocktail, vodka and ginger ale.
Have one for us, John.
Yeah, I'm going to smoke a cigarette.
Calling Glen Campbell the Rhinestone Cowboy, or country singer Glen Campbell, puts limits on a man who had very few musical limitations. Musically, he was arguably as good as Eric Clapton on the guitar. He even introduced Cream on the Glen Campbell Good Time Hour in 1968. He was a Beach Boy and toured with the Champs. Campbell was a member of the Wrecking Crew, a group of ultra-talented studio musicians who played on tons of records in the 1960s and 70s.
Exchanging glances.
Maybe his greatest contribution to pop music was teaming up with Jimmy Webb for Wichita Lineman, By the Time I Get to Phoenix, and Highwayman.
I am
I'm a lineman for the
Campbell was the first artist to play Market Square Arena in Indianapolis the day it opened in 1974.
The first musical act was Glen Campbell. The ticket price, $7.
From a WIBC documentary about Market Square.
Back home again.
Campbell's last show in Indiana was June 10th, 2012 at the Mirage Theater in Indianapolis. Chris Davis, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
One of these days I'm gonna sit down and talk to Paul.
It's been a long time since Billy Graham has been on TV with one of his crusades, but you might remember Johnny Cash and June Carter going on TV in Tallahassee along with Graham. They had a long relationship stretching all the way back to the old Johnny Cash show.
And I'm delighted to stand here today and tell you a little bit more about what Jesus said.
And Graham always had a message, and it was always from the Bible.
He wanted us to know that God loves you.
Graham's son Franklin has been reporting for years that his father was in ill health, and he is now passed on at 99. Chris Davis, 93 WIBC Mobile News.
In the heat of the night.
You will likely hear reports about Sidney Poitier's Oscar for Lilies of the Field.
It is a long journey to this moment.
While that was an incredible achievement for a black actor in 1964, Poitier's entire life story is one of the American dream. He was a U.S. citizen born in Miami by accident. His parents were residents of the Bahamas. When he was 16, Poitier moved to New York, picking up his accent by listening to radio announcers while working as a dishwasher.
I'm not sure of myself yet, in many ways.
He landed roles with the American Negro Theater, later moving into film in an era when black actors were rarely leads.
Now, damn it! You ain't got me!
The Oscar came 3 years before his defining role.
They call me Mr. Tibbs.
In the Heat of the Night won for Best Picture, but Poitier did not pick up the Oscar that year. But 67 was perhaps his most successful year, with Guess Who's Coming to Dinner and To Sir with Love along with Heat. He continued to act, fought for civil rights for black Americans, and became ambassador for the Bahamas to Japan in 1997. Poitier was 94.
Been so many places in my life and time.
Leon Russell died this weekend. He was 74. You may not even have realized what an important part of the rock and roll era Leon Russell was.
I've acted down my life on stages with 10,000 people watching. Whoa.
Put on this old 45 for a trip back to the mid-60s. Leon was a member of the Wrecking Crew. They were a group of mega-talented musicians who played on everybody's records. Everybody. Leon plays electric piano on Mr. Tambourine Man. Elton John found out just how many records Leon played on by the time Russell was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2011.
Leon played on Bing Crosby, Johnny Mathis, Doris Day, Dean Martin, Herb Alpert, Frank Sinatra, Strangers in the Night. Da-da-da-da-da. Remember that? The Ventures, the Everly Brothers, Del Shannon, Dwayne Eddy, Bobby V, Bobby Darin, Jan and Dean, Let There Be Drums, Sandy Nelson, that was Leon. The Fleetwoods, Come Softly to Me, that was Leon. Connie Francis, The Crystals, The Ronettes, every Phil Spector record. The Byrds, Mr. Tambourine Man. Delaney and Bonnie, The Beach Boys, every Beach Boys record, including Pet Sounds. J.J. Cale, Harry Nilsson, Bob Dylan, Joe Cocker, Freddie King and B.B. King, just to name some of them that he played on.
Russell got his chops playing in nightclubs in Oklahoma starting at age 14. That's because it was a dry state, no legal alcohol back then.
I'm up on a tight wire.
By the 70s, Leon was having his own hits and writing for other artists, Delaney, Bonnie and Friends. And the same one for the Carpenters. They did this one too. George Benson had the big hit with it. By the 80s and 90s, Leon's career was in disrepair. He played smaller clubs through the 90s, and that's where I saw him first. He was a cheap act to get, and there were reasons. But it was Elton John who brought him back. A rehab job, much like he did with Neil Sedaka back in the 70s. By the second time I saw Leon in 2014, he had a better band, and the performance was magnificent. He had a heart attack a couple of months back, canceled his tour, and died in his sleep at his home in Nashville.
When my life is over, remember when we were together? alone. I was singing this song. Singing this song for you.